Howdy-ho, I'm Red, your friendly neighborhood gadget grizzly here in the den of gadgets here. And today we're going to be talking about something a little different. There's going to be gadgets, but we're talking about YouTube and how you can start your YouTube channel for next to nothing. There's a lot of people on YouTube telling you got to go out and buy this, and you got to go buy that, and you got to spend money on this. And there's a lot of us, especially us gadget bearer types, who always want to go out and get the best or get more. It's all about the equipment, but really it's about the content. It's about putting out the videos. So I'm going to show you what I started with and pretty much what I ran my channel on, my main channel, the Den of Tools, which has 73,000 subscribers. We're averaging about 1 million views a month. And as you can see down here on the top line, right above the top line, 13,906,300 views currently. This is a decent size. It's small in the terms of all of YouTube. We're not PewDiePie or anything like that. But that's no small margin. And we got all these people who are like, oh, I need this to start. I need this to start. And it's not true. For 4 years, I've been running the Den of Tools on what a lot of people would consider to be a shoestring. So let's take a look at that string and see how thin it is. Now, the first thing I want to show you is this. This is what everyone seems to think is like, this is the camera you need to do for YouTube. And a lot of high-end professionals are using it and stuff for like, it's a great camera. Don't get me wrong, but you don't need a $1,700 camera to do YouTube. Here's what I've shot most of my footage when I'm not at my desk. Most of my footage is shot on this camera. That is a Motorola G6. That's been my cell phone for years. When I first started, I had a Motorola G5. I currently have an LG flagship phone, but I don't have it all set up and I haven't been shooting any video with it. That's right. Most of the video you've seen on the Den of Tools has been shot on a cell phone. In fact, most of the video you see across YouTube is shot on cell phones, from some of the terrible shaky stuff to some of the really good stuff. You got it in your pocket. You've already paid for it in most cases. It's a great camera to start with. Now, I am going to say this. This is the other thing. People are like, well, I need this or I need 4K because I need future proofing. Future proofing is a joke. Almost nobody talks about it anymore because they've realized that it is a joke. Because look at this. So we're going back to my analytics. And what we can see here, if we look over at age and gender here. If you look at age and gender, there's some really telling information here. Where it drops down to, well, we got 65 years. Over half of my audience is over the age of 45. Now, this is unusual for YouTube. That's some fairly ancient audience. And yet, even as old as my audience is, over half of them are using cell phones. 50.2% of my audience watches on a cell phone. Another 10.9% on a tablet, 20% on a computer. Game console is 1.7%, which means that's probably also TV in there. So how many of these people can actually see it in 4K? You know, they're watching it. I got ancient people like myself watching my channel on cell phones. In fact, YouTube sent me a picture of one of our viewers. I think he looks pretty good there. He's got an iPhone, very snazzy. Anyway, point is, the other thing I use is a webcam. Now, I use a Logitech HD 1080p. Now, here's the thing about this. When I bought it, I'll be honest, when I bought it, it was a $100 webcam. It was considered the very top of the line when I got it. It was their video conferencing one. But these days, I mean, they haven't upgraded many of these webcams, and these days you can get it for $42.99. That's a pretty decent price. Now, the one thing I will say about this is the autofocus is a little sketchy when you're doing stuff that's close up, when you're moving a bunch, or especially when I'm doing desktop reviews. But there's an app that comes with it. It's a free app you can download, and you can turn autofocus off, and you can set manual focus. You can use a little slider. You can even use the wheel on your mouse to change focus. So when I'm doing a desktop review or something like that with it, I just turn autofocus off. The nice thing I like about this camera is it has a wider field of view. Some people don't like that. Some people want to be more up close, just them. For those people, they often prefer the Logitech C920. Now, I found the image not to be quite as crisp, but it's a more narrow field. And I know it does say widescreen, but that's widescreen for a webcam. It's a more narrow field, more tightly focused. Some people like it because it gets just up in their face. A lot of people who use like for streaming for like Twitch where they're playing video games and they just want the headshot anyway. They don't want everything, off to the side and whatnot. They don't care about that. But again, this is something, and the nice thing about it is it records straight to your computer. So there's no having to get a memory card out or do anything else with. It goes straight there. Now, the way I mount this is with one of these. It's a flexible arm. You can bend it in all sorts of directions. Just clamps to the edge of my table and allows me to tip it up for viewing me. We use it for live streams. I can also tip it down and use it for desktop review content. And these things are super cheap. $20. There's some even cheaper than that. You can do all sorts of things with these things. Now, let's talk about microphones. And when people talk about microphones, a lot of people talk about Joe Rogan. Well, Joe Rogan uses the Shure, blah, blah, blah. Joe Rogan makes $30,000 plus per podcast, okay? He can afford whatever equipment he wants. This microphone right there, and you'll see it, every picture of Joe Rogan in his podcast, there's the microphone you see. And that is like the preeminent, podcasting microphone. It's a $400 microphone. Now, the microphone I've used for 4 years is the Blue Snowball Ice. Now, there's two versions of this microphone. There's the Snowball and then the Snowball Ice. The Snowball Ice is the cheaper version. The Snowball has a little switch on the back that lets you switch the pattern of recording from just one direction, which is the front, like I'm using now, to an omnidirectional. It records in a circle. Nobody ever needs that. Nobody ever uses it. In fact, it's actually terrible at it. So there's no reason to buy the more expensive version of the Snowball when you can get the Snowball Ice for cheap. That means you can spend as little as $50 for a new microphone. It comes with that little stand there. So to start off with, that's just fine. You can get better ones, and we'll talk about that later. But to start off with, that's what I used. It's what a lot of people use. It'll get you started. Now, as I said, I've used this one. I'm using it now. Used it for 4 years. One thing I did do was I have tried to upgrade before, and I upgraded to the Blue Yeti. Now, this is again, it says it's omnidirectional. There should be an and there. Omnidirectional is one type of pattern. Cardioid is the other pattern. Cardioid is the directional microphone where it's just in front of you. This is actually an excellent microphone. Again, and I should have mentioned this with the other one, these are both USB microphones. You just plug a USB cable into it, you run it right into your computer, and it records right to your computer. Now, that said, I tried this, and it's actually such a good microphone that it sounded terrible. Why? Because my room wasn't set up for recording, and you could hear everything. You could hear every click of the mouse. You could hear every click on the keyboard. You could hear my dog snoring 2 rooms away. People immediately complained, said the sound was terrible. What did I do? I needed to get a new microphone. I'm like, I just got a new microphone. So I gave this one to the Cubs, and I went back to the Snowball, and I've been on the Snowball ever since, and I'm just now getting to the point where I'm ready to upgrade. And what I'm going to go with, this is the Rode PodMic dynamic podcasting microphone with integrated swing arm. So this is a dynamic microphone as opposed to a condenser microphone. Now, condenser microphones have power going to them, and they can pick up everything, as I said, like, the dog sleeping in the other room. Whereas dynamic mics don't have any power, and they need more of you speaking at them. The benefit of this, I should say the detriment first, is that they're not as good acoustically about picking stuff up. But in some situations, that's a good thing. Especially when you're using it just for spoken vocals. It's really good. It gives it a nice, flat, even sound. The other thing is, it doesn't pick up the rest of the room. I record often in the garage, in my shop, and there's large, slabs of cement, large slabs of metal, the large slabs of drywall and stuff. The acoustics are terrible. They're about as bad as you could get. But with a dynamic microphone, hopefully, you won't be able to hear that. Now, one of the drawbacks is because this is like a traditional style microphone, it uses an XLR plug. So you need an extra piece of equipment to go through. In this case, we're going to be using the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. And what this does is this one, they make a 1 jack, a 2, a 4, an 8. They have a whole bunch of them. This allows you to plug in 2 microphones, control the gain on either of them, plug in headphones so you can listen to what you're actually saying, and then also on the back there's a USB port so you can send this over to your computer. So this allows you to take the 2 microphones, bring them in, process the sound properly, and then pipe it into your computer to be recorded. We're going to wait and see. I've ordered these recently. Hopefully by next week, you'll hear the bear here recording on his brand new PodMic microphones, and you can see if there's a difference. We'll also do a video comparing the two to see, how much you get for the money, right? Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is lighting, because when it comes to YouTube, there's tons of people who tell you, you need amazing lighting, you got to do this and this and this. Here's what I've used for years. Don't laugh. This is a Smith Victor vintage light bar used for video camera, like when they had film. We're talking 50s, early 60s kind of stuff here. Now, I picked it up for $7 at a garage sale. And the cool thing about it is it's got a tripod thread on it, so I was able to screw it right onto my tripod. I can put 4 light bulbs in it, and there's a button on the back where I can turn on either the 2 outside light bulbs, the 2 inside light bulbs, or all 4 light bulbs. So what I've got is I've got 2 daylight bulbs, and then I have 2 warmer bulbs, and then if I turn them both on, then I get kind of a balance. So I can go for a warmer light, a cooler light, or balanced light. And because they're LEDs, even though, the outside ones of that spiral does kind of look like a CFL, they're not. They're all LEDs. And because they're LEDs, they're already fairly diffused. So I don't really need to use a diffuser in a lot of situations. There are some situations where it could be helpful, but for $7, it's a pretty good solution. Now, I'm not saying that you go with something like this, but if you wanted to, you can find them on places like eBay. You can find them in garage sales and whatnot. Mine did come with a case like this, which is kind of cool. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. You can see the little case that goes on and clicks on it. Now, they also have, if you're interested in this sort of thing, a 2-bulb version. This is essentially the same thing, just a smaller version. So you just have 2 bulbs for it. Again, this is $15. Now, what I'm going to suggest instead, what you may want to look at is they have some newer solutions. But you can get something like this. This is a Studio Pro Photography 5 3 on-off switch with umbrella video mount. Now, I'm going to describe what all that means here in just a second. So you can put 5 bulbs in this, just kind of like one more than what I've got, right? On the back, if we look at it, there's 3 switches. And what you can do is you can get the 2 outside, the center, or the other 2 outside. And you could turn them on independently. So again, you could do the same thing I'm doing here. You could put 5 of the same. You could put 3 of one or 2 of one. However you want to mix and match. Now, this little hole here, what that does is that allows you to mount a diffusion umbrella. And that's what we see with stuff like this. Now, this light is made to mount on top of one of these kind of stands. And you can get cheaper stands. I mean, that's 2 of them for $56. But if you wanted to use a tripod, there's an adapter that they make that allows you to screw it onto a tripod. It's just a little post kind of thing. It's called a spigot, and it screws onto it. But that's a whole nother kind of discussion. But the fact of the matter is, you could do something like this for $28.95, which is a lot less expensive than a lot of the lighting situations that I see out there. Now, another one you might want to think about if you're doing a lot of selfie kind of stuff. I have a friend who's got a makeup channel where she does a lot of, how to apply your makeup kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't understand that sort of thing. But anyway, she has one of these where a cell phone sits right in the middle, and it's got nice ring diffuse lighting, and she's right up in front of it. And if you watch a lot of the videos where you see a lot of girls or women where they're like really close to the camera, and you'll see, if you look in their eyes, you'll see this kind of ring halo light kind of thing. They're using one of these, and that's where they get that look from. Now, let's talk about tripods. This is a high-end fluid head video tripod, and you don't need anything like this. I think this thing's close to $1,000. I use this tripod as my main kind of tripod, or my lighting tripod. I use it for a lot of different things. For 2 reasons. A, I was able to pick it up cheap. I think it's like $60. It says regular price is $70. Buy it now. I know on Best Buy's website it's $50. So the head on it is really kind of unique in that it's a ball head, so you cannot just, not just up and down and stuff, but you can pivot into these really weird kind of angles. And it's really easy to get it there and lock it in and everything else. On top of that, there's a lot of adjustments. You see, most tripods, you have like 3 adjustments on the leg. This one's got 4. So if I need to put it in an odd position, I can do that. They're also not linked together. So if I can have 2 close to one and 1 further out, I can do that. And also, even once I get the whole thing set up, I can extend the neck of it up higher. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll lean it off to one side and I'll put a weight on the end of it and I'll extend that neck even further out so I can get like a more top-down angle kind of shot. It's a more flexible kind of situation. It's stupid cheap compared to a lot of tripods out there. And it came with this nifty little adapter for a cell phone that I rarely use with this tripod, but I've got some more of those little grippy, flexible head kind of things where I put it on that, and I use that for my cell phone on a lot of stuff. Next up, let's talk about some accessories that I use. This is one of the main things that you're going to need if you have a setup like this, and this is your standard USB hub. Now, this is a USB 3 hub where I got a lot of stuff plugged into it. You can plug in memory sticks. You can plug in, the silver cable is my microphone cable. The thin one of the thin ones there is going to my webcam. I don't even know where the other ones are going, to be honest. I've got so many cables running around here. And then the other thing is the bottom 3 there, those are fast charging ports. Now, this is a $50 USB hub, and I'm $42.99. But Anker makes some of the best stuff out there. Now, recently I was partnering with Aki. I haven't used any of their big USB hubs. I like all the other stuff. I found it to be just as good as Anker. So maybe they've got something. I don't know. But this is my standard one that I keep on my desk. The only thing I will say about it that is I wish it was heavier. I wish it weighed like 10 pounds so it wouldn't get jerked around and accidentally almost get pulled off. I tried at one point on my old desk. I actually used a glue gun and glued it to the desk to keep it from moving around on me. Now let's talk about action cameras, because a lot of people say, oh, you need a GoPro. You need a GoPro for this, you need a GoPro for that. There's some situations where maybe you do. I actually have both of these. I have the Hero 4. Actually, I've got the Hero 4 Silver, and I've got the Session, the original GoPro Session. And the Session is the one I use all the time. I use it for all sorts of videos. It has its own case there. It's built in. It's waterproof. It's got a mic on the front and on the back. You use it, after like 10 shots or so, you realize you don't need the LCD screen on the back. You know where it's gonna be. And if not, I just hold it up right up in front of my eye, using my other eye to focus, and I just use it like it was my own eyeball. I pan around with my head and I track, and I use it like that. I've got attachments where I can put it on the bill of a hat. I can mount it to my car. I can do all sorts of stuff with it. I even ran it through a tile saw. And it came out fine. That's what I love about this thing. Now, GoPros, when they first came out, were a little expensive. But this is the GoPro Session, $150 for it, still new in the box. You can get them used for like $50 to $80. As far as used, I wouldn't probably have a problem with it, especially order it from like eBay, because you're going to have the eBay money back guarantee thing. They're tanks. I've never had a problem with them. I've had some actual GoPros die on me. The Session, never a problem with it. Now here's another accessory that you don't need, but I did get. So my viewers had asked me to do shop with me videos where I'm walking through a store and talking about stuff. And the first time I tried it, people were complaining, oh, it's too hard to watch, it's too shaky and stuff. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? So I found this because I thought all these, these gimbals were stupid expensive. Well, the Smooth Q by Jaishuan, I don't know how to pronounce that. It was $100 when I bought it. It was actually just under, I think it was like $90. You can get them used for around $45 like this one. And they're great. Now, the only thing I will say that's negative about it is that they're kind of cumbersome, and you have to get it out. You have to set it up. You got to get your cell phone in there. You got to get it balanced. There's all these little adjustments you can make because the motors aren't very strong. So you have to get it mostly balanced, so then the motors will just keep it balanced. If you can't just slap your phone in there and walk off and go, because you'll burn out the motors. That said, you guys, you viewers, were nice enough that a year ago, you all chipped in, I should say, in one of the live streams and bought us this, the DJI Osmo Pocket Gimbal. And I've used this for all sorts of stuff. This thing is stupid small. It literally does fit in your pocket. And really what it is if you're familiar with DJI, they make those drones. This is the camera off of a drone with its little gimbal on a stick. That's all it is. Now you can plug it into your phone if you want a bigger screen, which I almost never do. And I haven't liked that. And I've got a little device on it that helps, get all the bounce out of it. It's called a Z-axis kind of thing. But the point of the matter is, I've used it for stuff like this, going through SEMA, miles and miles of SEMA, and it's so smooth, it's ridiculous. And you could turn it on, and it will balance out and be ready to use in 3.5 seconds. Much faster. So you have it in your pocket, you see something you want to film, you pull it out, you turn it on, and within 5 seconds you are filming. That's what is the great thing about this. The bad thing, it's $300. Now, I'm not saying this is something you need. These are things that I've used. You definitely don't need them to be successful. Now, one of the things I am going to say that you might want to consider getting is one of these scissor-style boom arm for a microphone. It clamps to the edge of your desk, allows you to position the mic wherever you want, and the difference is when you have a microphone sitting on a stand that's a solid stand right on your desk, if you hit your hand down on the desk or you set anything down, the vibration will go through it and you'll hear it in the microphone. With this boom arm, it absorbs all those vibrations and you don't hear any of that stuff. And it allows you to turn, move, place the microphone wherever you want. When you don't need it, you just pivot it out of the way. It's really convenient. I use one all the time. It's one of in fact, I'm thinking about getting a nicer one with a longer reach and whole sorts of other stuff. But I mean, $15, it's not a huge investment and you can do all sorts of things with it. As I said, there's a picture there showing it with a cell phone. I've seen people who use it to hold a camera for doing desktop reviews. There's a lot of different options. Now, real quick, let's talk about the software that I use. Now, I'm not going to talk about how I make the human. The human generation, the 3D stuff for me doing the human, that's some secret kind of tech. We don't talk about that. But OBS. OBS is the main thing. This is a open broadcast studio. This is totally free, and you can plug in all your different video sources, bring them into one image file, do your recording, and then create that into a single file and put that into your editor. Now, there's not enough time here to talk about how to use OBS and all that stuff, but there's plenty of videos out there on how to do it. Now, as far as video editors, I use Adobe Premiere Elements, and I just upgraded to 2020, which was a complete waste of money. I should have stayed with, I think I had 2014 or something. There's not much of a change in it. There's a bunch of stuff in it that makes it easier for people who just want to make like family videos. They just want to throw a bunch of videos in, press a button, have it compile all the videos together and make some sort of presentation. I don't use it for that. But I also didn't want to pay $15 a month for the rest of my life for Adobe Premiere. On top of that, Adobe Premiere is stupidly expensive. Or, I mean, not just stupidly expensive. There's too much. It's for people make whole movies, like production movies at cinemas with it. I don't need that kind of level of production. Now, if you do, say you want to go that route, but you don't want to pay for it, I tried this and I was really happy with it. And that's DaVinci Resolve. And the only reason I'm not using it, there's two reasons, is A, I'm still on my backup computer right now. I still need to get my other computer up and running. And my backup computer can't quite handle it the way it should. So it's a little slow. The other thing is, again, it's overpowered for what I need. This is the guys who bring you Blackmagic cinematic cameras and stuff. A lot of people who do commercials and smaller video production use this software every day. And I think it's $300 for the full pro, one time, you never have to buy it again kind of stuff. Now, the reason that they can sell it so cheap is they sell so many accessories and stuff. So they're selling you everything else to go along with it. So they're giving you the software here for free. It's an interesting marketing thing. I got to tell you, it's an amazing piece of software. And if you really want to get serious about video editing, I would start with that and work your way up, because you don't want to have to transition later like I've tried to do. It's really hard once you get it in your brain that this is the way video editing is done, and then change to a different format. Now, I want to talk about, these are all the things that I've used. I want to talk about some stuff that I don't use, but I'm thinking about using and thinking about upgrading to. one of the things is I'm thinking about getting a bigger, more broad LED light kit. And the reason for that is I need more lights. I have different setups in the shop, different areas, and I don't want to have to keep moving one light around with it. Also, I have the one really good tripod, and it gets taken up with my light system now because it's the only one that gets high enough to really use with the light. So I'm looking at something like this. This is $80. You got 2 light panels. You've got 2 little light stand tripod kind of things. They got films that will go over the lights to make them even more diffused than they already are because they're already LED. You don't have to worry about, stupid hot halogens or anything like that. Now, if you are like, hey, I want more control than that, well, we can upgrade to something like this. This is essentially the same kind of set, a little bit nicer. It comes with, those are called barn doors on the side of the light, and they allow you to close off the light so the light doesn't spill out into different areas and get a little bit more focused. Now, you're going to pay more for a set like this, but it is a pretty nice set. Now, the other thing that people talk about is green screens. You have stuff like this. I always think of like the window shades for your dash to keep your dash from peeling stuff. They're the kind you twist and they fold up and then you let go and they pop open. So here's a 5x7 green screen for $25.79. 2 other options for green screens are this sort, which is your traditional backdrop. You get one of these tripods on either side, a bar that goes across the top, and then you have 3. You have a black, a white, and a green screen. The little clamps clamp it to the top. There's nothing fancy about it. It just works. It just gets the job done. For $36 with free shipping, it's hard to argue with it. Now, if you want to be super slick and super cool, all the cool kids are using this. This is the Pro Green screen backdrop. It collapses. So that's what it looks like from the front. From the back, it looks like this. You set it on the floor. It's like the old movie projector screens, except instead of sliding down, it slides up, and it just locks in place. And then you can have somebody just stand in front of it, and they can do all sorts of cool stuff. I don't know how they're getting her feet in it, considering her feet aren't in front of the screen. But that said, that's kind of fake. This is about what it looks like. You don't have to dress like a douche like that when carrying it. That's optional. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you, these are the things that the Bear uses when I do my videos. I've been doing this for 4 years. I started off as a hobby. The first year, I only did a handful of videos. The second year, I think I did maybe twice as many videos. Really, about 2 years ago is when I started getting serious. But all that time, I've used the same equipment. A $50 microphone, a $100 webcam, $150 GoPro, and my cell phone. And I did pay for the software. That was, I think when I bought it, it was like $70. But you don't have to pay for the software. There's literally better software out there for free. It's just what works for me. You don't need, and to be entirely honest, I know plenty of people, Brad's Workbench, who edit everything on their phone. Christina Marie, if you've been in our live streams, she pops in. She's one of our friends local. She's the one who does makeup. She edits on her phone, and I keep telling her, adults like us should use a PC, but I guess she's over there like one of the kids editing on her phone. I don't know how she does it. Anyway, point is, you don't need to spend a bunch of money. I know a lot of you are constantly asking me, hey, I want to get involved in doing YouTube. Hey, what do I need to get started in YouTube? What are you using? I'm not using thousands of dollars of equipment, as you probably tell, but I'm using what works. And that's what, a lot of what I talk about when I talk about stuff on the tool channel is use the best thing that gets the job done at the least price. If it's not going to bring you direct value, don't spend your money on it. I could buy a $1,500 DSLR. Would I get $1,500 back in return on it? I don't think so. I don't think people really care that much because for the most part, they're watching on their cell phones and they really can't see the difference. I am planning to be upgrading just a little bit here and there. I'm planning to get a slightly better camera. I'm getting better microphones and stuff. But that's really for me. That's for me just to feel good about the product that I'm producing. If you've got money to spend, money to burn, buy whatever you want. I'm not telling you can't buy it. I'm telling you don't need it. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Be sure to check me out again, as I said, on the Den of Tools. Also, don't forget to check out our diet blog or vlog or podcast or whatever, which is Geek Health. I'm doing keto and 1 meal a day, also called OMAD by the cool kids. So if you want to watch me starve myself, come on over there, check it out. I'm down about 40 pounds and still losing. I'm feeling great, even though my voice is a little hoarse. It's been raining around here in Vegas. Who said it could rain in Vegas? I don't know. Anyway, that's all the Tool Bear has for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being part of the channel. On your way out the door, be sure to chomp that like button. The algorithm really likes it when you do that. Anyway, you take care. God bless. And as always, come on, say it with me. Shine on.